It is overtime here at Old Favorite Friday, and we are at Barrel of Monks, and I am with Ralph Renaud, our brewer extraordinaire, and we are continuing the conversation about the beer of this week, which is Delirium Nocturnum. Now, a lot of people, I guess, out there in the market, in my experience, I see Delirium Tremens all the time, right? That's the Golden Strong Ale. I feel like it's the beer that most people know from them. I don't see Nocturnum as often. I actually had Nocturnum first. I was getting into Belgian beer and I was looking for a dark strong ale as opposed to a golden ale, and this was recommended to me. I loved it. This is 15 years ago, the first time I had this beer. It's delicious, it's rich, it's full-bodied. What are your thoughts, Ralph?
So, interesting enough, I used to have a slightly hard time finding it, I'm sure. I mean, for me, it was a real hard time. I'm sure now it's all over the place. But when I got into Belgian beer, you know, I started with some of the gold and strongs and this and that. But I went through a period where any strong dark I could get my hands on, I just was like seeking out and chasing down. In fact, if it wasn't for Belgian beer, I probably wouldn't be working here. And so yeah, like you said, they always have the Tremens like that. I could, even back then, I could like find everywhere, and I could not find this. So when I finally tracked it down, I bought like bottles and bottles of this.
I mean, it's a great beer. It does have that nice chocolate caramel. I get a little bit of the fig and raisin that you get out of a quad. It's not listed as a quadruple. I mean, it's not from a Trappist brewery, so maybe that's one of the reasons that they go with the Golden Strong moniker, which is that's great. I love this style. I also love the fact that, yes, it has a little bit of sweetness to it, right? Because you should, at a dark strong ale, should have a little sweetness. But I was looking up some information on this beer, and it says it has a hint of sourness to it. And now that I'm trying it, I've never picked it up before, I get a little hint of acidity, which is nice.
Yeah, and I actually like it, and I was going to say, if you didn't say that, I might have not, like, I was getting something, but it's hard to say exactly what it is, because it's very much, for me, on the finish. But what I love about this, and I mean, obviously it's from Belgium, so that's a good reason, but it's, to me, so well balanced for Belgian beer, because I feel a lot of the time, too, when some American breweries try and do Belgian beer, it's almost like a paint by numbers, where they're like, okay, we need this flavor and this flavor, and because it's more of an American style, it all has to be cranked to 11, where this isn't that. It's, to me, this is classically Belgian. In fact, when I want a Belgian beer, I'm like, you can give me this any time, because like you said, it's got that breadiness, it's got a bit of sweetness. To me, it has a dark fruit character, but not just like, oh, this has dark fruit. It actually blends into everything, so it's not just like, well, even when you have a stout or something, you could be like, oh, I get like cherry or something, but no, this has like the menage, like you said, of the raisin, fig, plum, and it just kind of blends together into this bready character, so you almost get, which is actually perfect for this time of year, but almost like a sweet pastry, kind of like, you know, an old school pastry if you go to a European bakery, but that kind of flavoring. I think it works really well for this beer.
One of the things I like about this beer, it's 8.5, which is a strong beer, right? But we're not talking up around 10 or 11%, and you see a lot of dark strong ales up in that 10% number, and I've actually talked about it before of doing like a baby quad and doing a dark strong ale with that flavor profile, but not being as boozy. I mean, this doesn't come off as boozy at all, right? It's 8.5,
no,
it's velvety smooth. I mean, velvety smooth. But I love the fact they have this beer coming in at 8.5%. I've always been a huge fan of this. I've always been a follower. I mean, you would have thought, right now we're recording this around Christmas time, that we would be doing Delirium Noel, right? But I thought I wanted to take a little break from the Christmas beers, and this was out there on the shelf. And one of the things that stood out to me was the can. Now, for anyone that knows anything about Barrel of Monks, we are a Belgian-inspired brewery. One of the partners, one of the owners and the brewmaster, Bill McPhee, has never been a big fan of cans. And when I started seeing stuff like this and St. Bernardus, Wittekirk, I mean, just a lot of different classic Belgian beers showing up in cans, we were like, see, the Belgians are doing it too. But I love seeing it. You can still get them in bottles. If you prefer a bottle, which are usually going to be a little higher carbonation, right? Because the bottle conditioning, you can hold a little more carbonation with glass than you can with aluminum. But you have the option. So if you're a can fan, or you're happy to see it that way, you can come pick it up. If you're a traditionalist and you want to stick with the bottles, you can find those too. But I'm thrilled. I think it's, I mean, I know it's a little bit cheesy, but it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous can. Someone just died in the back. Someone just dropped something very heavy. Sorry, distracted me. Anyway, it's a gorgeous looking can. It's a really, really great beer. If you're a Belgian fan, you can't go wrong with this beer. If you have not, if you're not a big Belgian beer fan, I just want to point out, these are the kind of beers that really turned me on to Belgian beer and beer in general because they tasted like nothing else I ever had. So if you're not a huge fan of craft beer or you like a particular craft beer style, this is another one that can really open up your world.
For sure. And pretty much you said everything I would have said, because yeah, without Belgian beer, I wouldn't be in a craft beer. And I think especially if you, like you said, or what I heard anyways, is if you are still into just like macro lagers and this and that, but you want to branch out, I think Belgian beer and some of those European styles is a great way to do it. So I would highly recommend something like this.
Great gateway beer because it doesn't taste like anything. If you're just drinking macro lagers, I have no idea why you're watching this video. But if that's the case, this tastes like nothing like what you've ever had before in the world. But has great flavor complexity that you would get from stouts, great complexity that you would get from brown ales. The Belgian beer style is just so amazing. It's the reason why we love it so much here at Barrel of Monks, and the reason why we love Delirium Nocturnum so much. So please go check it out if you haven't had one in a while. Pick one up if you haven't had it before. Go out there and find it. You're going to be happy you did. Please click on our other YouTube videos, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff so you can see more videos of us talking about the beers that we love, very often suggested by you folks. So you can also leave a comment of the beer that you think we should be reviewing next week, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.